eyeshadow look all done. Now we're gonna go in and we're gonna put on some mascara. Now, when you apply mascara, first you're gonna pull it out of the tube, right? And there's always this little bit at the end there. We don't want that to smudge, hit our nose, hit our eyelashes, or hit the rest of our face because it is annoying to get this off. So you're gonna want to scrape that bottom bit on the tube there, okay? Then you're gonna pick up your mirror and you're going to start at the base closest to your eye root part of your lashes and then work your way out. And you're gonna close your eyes as you do this because that's going to brush your eyelashes through the mascara wand. And I just work, I start in the middle and then I work my way all around the rim of my eye. And when I get to the outer edges of my lashes, they can be a little bit trickier because if I try and come in here, I'm going to smudge on my face. And so what I'm going to do is just use that end bit of the mascara wand, you know, that we had wiped off, and I'm going to use that as part of applying the mascara on my eyelashes. So you really want to coat the root of your lashes, because if you don't, then it can really make your lashes not look complete. Now you can dip in as much as you need. Again, wipe off the excess. Do not pump the wand inside the mascara, because what it will do is that it will put air into the mascara and it will make it dry out a lot faster, make it clumpy. We don't want that. So now I'm gonna kind of work, rather than trying to put it as close to my eye as possible, I'm gonna pull out a little bit more and try and get just the ends of my lashes, from the mids to the ends, working all around. And I like to twirl my mascara wand because if you saw, I'm just working on this one side and it's not getting that other side of mascara. And so I like to twirl my wand and then put it more on. Now, sometimes if your eyelashes are naturally curly or they're longer, or even just to complete the look all the way, an extra tip I like to do is I like to come in, close my eye a little bit, just put this on the ends of your lashes. Don't try to go to the roots, okay? We're gonna hit that and we're gonna twirl it. Top and twirl. And there, you have one eye done. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other eye so that you can see exactly how I did that. I know that I'm closing my eyes a lot and it looks like I'm blinking a ton, and I am. But I just really want to make sure I'm getting the roots of my eyelashes and really coating all of them super well. So we'll give you a much fuller look. There, now we have our mascara all done. And so what we're gonna go in with next is a under eye corrector. Okay, so we all have these under eye bags. We have blue, we have purple in the corner. Sometimes we have them here, sometimes we've got them in the corner of our eyes. I only have them in the corner of my eye right here. And so what you want to do to offset the purple and blue is to use a peach corrector, okay? Peach is going to offset that blue and purple, and if you look on a color wheel, we're going to be doing opposites to help offset, okay? So if you have redness, green is the opposite. So if you have redness in your cheeks, we can, you know, do green. Let me know if you want to see a video on how to do color corrector all over the face. I would love to be able to do that. Only going to put it where I need it, and I like to use my finger because it really warms up that product, and I have a lot of control exactly where I want it to go. You also want to make sure that you're blending all of the edges where it's going. And there, you just have a little subtle difference of covering up those blue and purple circles. Now while that's setting, I don't want to go in with my concealer right away because then it's just going to mesh and become one, and then it just looks really heavy and cakey. So now I'm going to go in with my foundation, just one pump. That's really all that you need, especially if you're wearing makeup in person. If you're going to an event, maybe you need a little bit more, but really I would just, you know, look for a foundation that's full coverage. And I'm going to use a beauty blender. This one is obviously used. I'm going to use this beauty blender. You can use a brush. You know, let me know again if you want to see a video of how to use different techniques of using your fingers, using a brush, using your sponge. There's so many different ways to apply foundation on your face. So I'm just going to dab into my hand, and then I'm going to start in the center of my face, and then I'm going to work my way out. Now I don't want to come up too close to my eye because I'm going to be putting concealer on, and I don't want to have a double layer of foundation and concealer. And I'm going to use patting motions to really blend that product in. If you missed the first video on how to apply this eyeshadow, make sure you go back and look at that. So then you can have this whole complete look all come together here. We really want to blend this down our jawline, into our hairline, around our mouth. It's okay if a little bit gets on your lips because that means that you're getting all of your skin covered, and we'll go in and we'll be able to wipe that off later. So really blend this, and you're just grabbing a little bit of product at a time, okay? Not too much. Blend around our eyebrows. And now most important, make sure you lift up that hairline and you blend into that hairline. Also be conscientious if you have bleached hair that you are not coloring your hair with your foundation. I have done that before. When I was younger, I had a lot lighter colored hair and the foundation, you know, it looked orange. Okay, so now we have the foundation all done. And I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna use my rag to wipe off that excess foundation that I didn't need. If you want to check out a video that I made not that long ago about tools that make your makeup apply so much better, then go ahead and click on it here in the cards. Next, I'm going to apply my concealer. And with my potted concealer, you know, there's a lot of concealers that have wands, and you can apply those really easily, but you just want to make sure you're not applying too much, okay? So a concealer is to help build that coverage wherever you need it. So whether that's under your eyes, like I do, or you need it on your nose a little bit more, or maybe you've got a pimple you need to hide, that's where you would use concealer. It's supposed to be used very minimally, okay? Now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna blend that again. And I'm gonna blend it down into my foundation. And that's gonna make it all blend together very happily and look like one cohesive look. Again, like our eyes. If you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. Generally, you want your concealer to be just a little, like one shade, maybe 2 shades lighter than your foundation, and that's so it can help brighten up under your eyes. Now, if you're gonna be, you know, doing a spot concealing like a pimple or something, that's where you want a concealer that's about the same color as your foundation so that you don't have this big white spot, you know, on your face. Next, if you have oily skin like I do, or you know, just an oily T-zone, or maybe it's the foundation that you're using, like the one I'm using today is a radiant foundation, which is fantastic, but because I'm a little bit oily, I need some oil control. Okay, so you're gonna need 2 things here. You're gonna need a powder puff, and you're gonna need a big fluffy brush. So I like to use loose setting powder because that helps set my makeup a lot better than just a pressed powder. I do love pressed powders too, don't get me wrong. So I tap some into the cap here, if you can see that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my puff and I'm gonna wipe into that a little bit. And just make sure it's really blended. And then I'm going to just do the corner of my eye here. That's where I need it the most. And then the excess that's left in my cap, I'm going to swirl into my brush. And I'm really swirling that in there to get it blended into my brush, so then when I come in on my T-zone, pat, 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 everywhere that I need it, then it's going to be evenly dispersed and I'm not going to have a white spot or anything like that where the powder shouldn't have gone. Also, extra tip, if you are oily, take a little bit of powder with you wherever you go, whether it's a little pressed powder compact, or maybe if you can get a mini of, you know, this big powder thing from Huda Beauty, then just put that in your purse, take it with you to work, and you can take a puff or you can take a brush, maybe just a smaller brush if you want, and you can just lightly dab that in areas that you're starting to show some oil and shine, you know, on your chin, your nose, and you don't want that. You can do that throughout the day. Just make sure that you're putting a very thin amount on so that you're not caking up and just adding layers and layers and layers, okay? So now that we have our base all done, we are pretty just one slate here. We don't really look like much, and this is where our bronzer is really gonna come in handy. So I'm gonna use my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and you're gonna want to swirl your brush into it so that you get it on all the bristles and then tap off the excess, okay? So first we're gonna start on our forehead. And we wanna make sure it's very well blended into our hairline there, and I'm tapping. I'm not, you know, going in circular motions. I'm tapping and I'm bringing it down my face, and whatever is left, then I put on my face. And the reason that I do that is so that I don't put too much on my cheeks, because if I put too much on my cheeks, they're so big that really it's gonna emphasize them more. So I'm gonna come on the other side and match it. And now we're starting to see a little color come back in our face. And one thing that you can do, this is a little tip that I taught in my very first video of Everyday Mom Glam Makeup, make sure you go and watch that video if you haven't yet, is you just swipe back and forth with just a little bit, pinch your brush so that it makes it thinner, and then just swipe it down your nose and over and down. So it's not too harsh of a contour, and then we're gonna bring it down our chin just a little bit. You wanna, you know, really work on cutting that out, because it's not too harsh of a contour. You know, I really like my nose. I don't need to contour it heavily. For me, I think it really cuts off my nose. It makes it a lot smaller on my face, and I have big cheeks, and so making my nose look even smaller, it emphasizes my cheeks more, and I don't want that. And so that just gives a little bit of color, but it also, you know, brings everything together, right? When the sun hits us, it hits us on our cheeks, our forehead, and our nose, okay? It doesn't skip our nose. Our nose is like one of the first things to burn. So you wanna make sure that you bring some color and bring it all cohesive together. Next, I'm gonna use a cream blush. I'm gonna put just a little bit on my hand here, and then I'm going to blend it with my brush. Always pre-blend it on your hand first, because that will give you the easiest application. And then what I like to do is I like to kind of turn my head just slightly. I don't smile because the apples on my cheeks are right here, and if I stop smiling, they drop. See that? And also because of my heavier cheeks that I have, I like to bring my blush just a little bit higher, kind of like right here, right in the corner, just below the corner of my eye. And then I'm gonna make sure that that is evenly blended. I like to bring it on the apples of my cheeks just slightly. And really, there's no right or wrong way to apply any of this. You apply it how you feel most comfortable. So if you like it mostly on the apples of your cheeks and you have fuller cheeks, sometimes I do that. It depends on the look that I'm going for. But I always like to bring the excess up onto my forehead and a little bit on my nose and my chin, because again, The sun hits us on all parts of our face, and we want to bring it all together. The last thing that we have here is highlighter. And I'm using this Colourpop Super Shock highlighter, and I'm just gonna, I got a little bit on my finger there, and I'm just gonna tap, lightly tap this at the highest point of my cheek. How you can tell the highest point of your cheek is if you turn your face, you can see where the light hits your cheek. And that's where we want our highlighter to go. And then if you want a little extra boom, put a little bit on your nose, a little down the bridge of your nose. Sometimes I like to put a little right here, just above my eyebrow, and a little bit right here on my temple. Really, I'm hitting all of those high points on my face that the sun would naturally reflect that light off of if somebody were to see me from my side. And so it's not just about where do the high points of my face look when you're looking straight at me, but also when I turn my face, where are those high points as well? We want to reflect the sun there. Now we're towards the end, and we're going to take our handy dandy rag. We're going to wipe all that excess foundation off of our lips, and then we're going to use lip liner. Now you really want to use lip liner because it'll help shape and define your lips, okay? And if you have smaller lips and you want to overdraw them, then go ahead and do that too. So I'm just going to follow the natural line of my lips here. I'm going to do it without talking. And you want to use like the edge of the, kind of lengthwise, going like this across your lips, because that's going to really take advantage of the shape of the lip liner. There, you got it on. Now when it comes to applying lipstick, you can apply it with your fingers, you can apply it with the lipstick. Sometimes I like to apply it with my fingers, and I can blend it in with the lip liner at the same time. And also blending it in with my finger gives me a little bit more of a natural look. And then we can't forget here, our eyebrows. Always make sure you brush those up. But we don't want to leave them brushed up. Just slightly comb them, just with the tip of the spoolie, down. So it opens up your eye a lot more if you're able to brush them up. There you have it, how to apply makeup step by step. If you haven't watched the first video on how to apply basic eyeshadow, then go ahead and watch that now, and then this will make a lot more sense. I hope that you learned something today, a new technique or something you didn't know. Please let me know down in the comments what your favorite product is to apply. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so I can create more awesome content for you guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!